You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. The knock was frantic, not the kind of knock you get when someone's dropping by with good news. This was the kind that slams into your chest before you even make it to the door. I jumped out of bed, heart hammering, and stumbled down the hallway barefoot, the floor cold under my feet. When I opened the door, 2 deputies stood there, faces grim, flashlights holstered, their cruiser still running behind them. "Mr. Harper?" the older one asked. He looked like he'd been through too many midnight calls. "Yeah," I said, already knowing whatever came next wasn't going to be good. "We found your vehicle, a '66 Mustang, abandoned off County Road 12. Engine was still warm." I didn't have to ask the obvious question. I already knew. "Was anyone with it?" The younger deputy shook his head. "No sign of a driver. Door was ajar. No damage. Key still in the ignition." My throat tightened. I felt the air leave my lungs like I'd been kicked. Claire. The car was hers, technically. She loved that damn Mustang almost as much as she loved dressing it up for Sunday drives, but I hadn't heard from her since before dinner. And then there was that bank notification. $10,890. Gone. Transferred from our joint savings to a name I didn't recognize. I'd stared at the alert for a long time, tried calling her. No answer. I checked the GPS tracker I'd installed in the car months ago. For safety, I'd told her. In truth, I'd been paranoid. For good reason, apparently. The signal showed the car heading west, into the country. Then nothing. Now, here were 2 cops at my door, and the car was exactly where the tracker had last pinged it, still warm. My son Leo appeared behind me, rubbing his eyes. Just 10 years old. Sleep-tousled hair, and that calm, strange look he sometimes got when he was thinking hard about something adults couldn't understand. "Dad?" he whispered. "What's going on?" "Nothing, buddy," I said automatically. "Just go back to bed." But he didn't. He walked over, looked out past the officers into the night, and then back up at me. Then he leaned in, barely loud enough to hear, and said, "Don't worry, Dad." I fixed it. My blood ran cold. "What did you say?" He just nodded, as if that explained everything, then turned and padded back toward his room. The younger officer was watching him too. "You okay, sir?" I nodded, but my voice was hollow. "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." But I wasn't tired. I was afraid. Because the worst part wasn't that Claire was gone. It was that Leo didn't look worried at all. 3 days passed, no word, no texts, nothing. Then Claire called. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a lukewarm coffee and a dozen unanswered questions when her name lit up my phone. My hands shook as I answered. "Claire?" Her voice came through sharp, panicked, like she'd been running. "Peter, what the hell did you do?" "I could ask you the same thing," I said, trying to stay calm. "You drained our account and disappeared." "You don't understand," she yelled. "Victor is losing his mind. He said I promised him that money. He thinks I'm playing him." "Victor," I repeated, the name sour in my mouth. "So that's who you wired $11,000 to?" "Don't play dumb. You did something. You told him—" "I didn't tell him anything," I snapped. She didn't respond, just breathing hard on the other end like she was trying to steady herself. "Claire, what is going on?" I asked, softer now. "What have you gotten yourself into?" There was a long silence. Then she said, "You always made me feel trapped, Peter. Like this house, this town, everything about it. Like I was being buried alive." That hit harder than I expected. I gripped the edge of the table. She kept going. "I didn't mean for it to happen. Victor, he understood me." I didn't say anything. Just listened to her unravel. "You work your job, you come home, you're kind to me, and it was all so safe. I needed more." I thought back to the last few months, the late nights she chalked up to work, the perfume she didn't wear for me, the errands in heels and lipstick. That night she came home smelling like someone else, cheap cologne and a lie she didn't even try to cover well. "You were seeing him while you were still here," I said. "I didn't plan to fall for him," she muttered, "but he believed in what I wanted, a new life. And you were going to buy that life with our savings?" She didn't answer, but she didn't deny it either. I felt sick, but none of that compared to what came next. That night, after I put Leo to bed, I went into the home office to dig through anything Claire might have left behind, papers, accounts, maybe even a burner phone. Instead, I found something else. The laptop was open, Leo's school email still logged in. There were messages sent from Claire's account, except they weren't from her. They were from Leo. He had hacked her password, locked her out. One of the drafts was a message to Victor. It read, "Claire lied to you. She took the money and ran. She was never going to give it to you. Ask her about Peter. Ask her what she said about you last week." It was signed, "Good luck." Leo. I stared at the screen for a long time, unsure whether to be angry or amazed. Leo hadn't just known something was wrong, he'd acted. And somehow, his quiet little voice, "Don't worry, Dad, I fixed it," suddenly made terrifying sense. It didn't take long to find her. My old friend Nate, ex-Army, now a private investigator, owed me a favor. He found Claire holed up in a dumpy roadside motel 2 towns over, just off Route 8. Paid in cash, no ID. "I'm guessing she thought Victor would come looking for her," Nate said over the phone. "But from what I've gathered, he already has, and he's pissed." I drove out there the same night. The motel's neon sign blinked half-lit letters. Starlight Inn. Weekly rates. The parking lot was empty except for Claire's Mustang and an old Toyota with no hubcaps. I walked up to room 12 and knocked twice. Nothing. Then the door creaked open. Claire stood there barefoot, hair a mess, wearing one of my old t-shirts and holding a plastic cup of wine like it was a cocktail party. The TV behind her buzzed with static. "Well," she said with a dry smile, "took you long enough." I stepped inside without asking. The room smelled like stale cigarettes and cheap perfume. She sat back on the edge of the bed, crossed her legs, and took a sip. "So what now?" she asked, like we were negotiating something. "I came to ask why," I said. "But I already know." She didn't flinch. "You came to gloat?" "Number?" "I came to see if you even feel anything." Claire rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on, Peter. Don't get all noble. You're not the victim here." I stared at her. "I'm not?" "You trapped me, with your kindness, your decency. You think that's not its own kind of prison? You stole from me, from our son." "Leo doesn't need much," she said flatly. "He's quiet. Doesn't even notice when I'm not around." I clenched my fists. "He noticed, and he did something you didn't expect." That made her pause. "What's that supposed to mean?" I stepped closer, leaned against the wall. "Victor's gone," I said. "He found out everything. Leo sent him copies of your messages, told him the truth." For the first time, I saw her expression change, like the floor just tilted under her. "You're lying," she said quietly. "Number? He's out. He realized you couldn't deliver, and he wants nothing to do with you." Claire stood up, her voice rising. "You don't know him. He wouldn't just walk away." "He did. He already did. And you're here, alone, with a bottle of wine and no plan." She stared at me for a long time. Her confidence cracked, just a little. Then, like flipping a switch, she smirked again. "You think you won something?" I didn't answer. She walked toward me, slow and smug. "You're still playing catch-up. You think Leo's some innocent little genius? He's not." "Don't," I warned. "You sure you know your own son?" she asked, voice low, almost teasing. "Because I lived with him too. I've seen things, Peter. Heard things. Claire..." She leaned in close, like she wanted to whisper something vile in my ear, but I stepped back. "I don't know what game you're still trying to play," I said, "but I'm done." She laughed bitterly. "Yeah, well, good luck unraveling that one." I walked out without looking back, but her voice followed me down the hall like static on an old radio. "You think I'm the monster?" she called after me. "Wait till you figure out who's pulling the strings." The package showed up 2 mornings later, no name, no return address. Just a plain brown envelope left on the porch, wedged under the welcome mat like it belonged there. Inside was a small note and a flash drive. The note was typed, clean font, no signature. "You should know who she really is before you keep playing the good guy." That was it. I locked the door, closed all the blinds, and took the drive straight to the office. Not my work laptop. Claire had known that password. I used the old desktop I kept in the guest room, the one she never touched. The folder on the drive was labeled Clarity. At first I thought it was a joke. Then I opened it. Video files. Dozens. Dated, time-stamped, named by room. Living room 0327.mp4. Master bedroom 0402 leoroom0414.mp4. leoroom0414.mp4. I clicked on the first one. Claire sat on the couch in our living room, laughing, sipping wine, talking on the phone, on speaker. "It's almost too easy," she was saying. "He thinks we're refinancing to fix the kitchen. I'm draining the account next Friday." She paused, listening, then laughed again. "Peter doesn't ask questions. He trusts me. That's his whole problem." My jaw tightened. I hit pause. I clicked another. This one in our bedroom. Claire standing in front of the mirror, applying lipstick. Victor's voice came through the phone speaker. "Is he still buying the whole 'you're working late' thing?" "Please," she said. "Peter thinks I'm picking tile samples after hours. He's a safety net too dumb to realize he's a trampoline." The words hit like a punch. I closed my eyes. It got worse. Video after video, each more cutting than the last. In one, she stood in the kitchen laughing to herself, pouring wine and talking to Victor about opening an account in her cousin's name. Once I transfer the funds, we disappear. Easy. But the last video was the one that broke me. It was labeled leoroom0414.mp4. I hesitated, then clicked. The footage was grainy, like it was filmed from a phone propped on a shelf. The camera faced Leo's small room, his desk, his books, his posters. Claire stood in the doorway, swaying slightly, clearly drunk. "You've been in my phone?" she said, slurring. "Don't lie." Leo sat on his bed, small and still. His hands were folded in his lap. "I didn't delete anything," he said softly. Claire stepped closer, voice rising. "You don't get to spy on me. Do you know how dangerous that is? Do you know who you're messing with?" "I was trying to protect Dad," he said, voice quiet but steady. Claire stared at him like he was something on the bottom of her shoe. "You think you're smarter than me?" Leo didn't answer. She scoffed. "You're not. You're just a weird little freak who doesn't talk. That's all you are." He blinked, slow. "You shouldn't talk about people you don't understand." Then the video cut out. I sat there in silence, watching the screen. My own reflection in the monitor looked like a stranger, tired, worn, and older than I remembered. Claire hadn't just betrayed me. She had poisoned our son's world, left bruises you couldn't see. And Leo, he had watched it all, endured it, quiet, alert, waiting for me to catch up. I thought of that night at the door, the way he had whispered, "Don't worry, Dad." I fixed it. He wasn't trying to be cryptic. He was trying to protect me, even when it wasn't his job to. I closed the folder, ejected the drive, and sat back in the chair. This wasn't about getting revenge anymore. This was about taking back control for both of us. Claire had buried her truth. Leo had dug it up. Now it was my turn to act. Nate was the one who pitched the idea. "You want justice," he said, sitting across from me in his basement office. "That's great, but justice needs evidence. And people like Claire don't confess unless they think they're winning." We built the plan piece by piece over late nights and takeout cartons. We created a fake investment group, Sophie Marks, LLC. Nate's cousin drafted the paperwork. The pitch? A high-stakes, untraceable real estate flip. Fast cash, no questions, high reward. Exactly the kind of bait Claire had always bitten into with both hands. "She wants to feel smarter than everyone," Nate said. "So let her. Let her think she's still in control." Claire replied to Sophie within hours. Subject line: interested, experienced, discreet. The meeting was set for Wednesday at 3 p.m. A quiet upscale bistro just outside town. The kind of place Claire used to claim she grew out of, but secretly loved. I sat 2 tables away, baseball cap low, nursing a black coffee. Nate played the role of Sophie's legal rep, cool, confident, blazer rolled at the cuffs. Claire walked in right on time, hair done, sunglasses tucked in her blouse, confidence like armor. She smiled too wide. She always did that when she was lying. "Let me tell you something up front," she said, sliding into the booth. "I'm not like most people. I know how to move money without leaving footprints. I've done it before, discreetly, of course." Nate nodded. "Any examples you can share?" She leaned in, whispering like they were old conspirators. "There was a guy, Victor. Rich, dumb, and dangerous. Thought I loved him. I told him I'd help launder the funds from a shell property. He gave me the money. I gave him the runaround." She sipped her wine. "He disappeared." I clenched my jaw. Fascinating, Nate said, casually sliding a voice recorder deeper into the table's centerpiece. Claire went on, bragging about fake invoices, ghost buyers, forged contracts. She was proud of it, like it was a resume. That was the moment I stood up. Claire froze when she saw me. Her smile faltered for just half a second before she sat up straighter, trying to look unfazed. "Peter," she said, voice sugary, "didn't expect to see you here." "I know," I said calmly, sliding into the booth beside Nate. "That's what makes it fun." She turned to Nate, confused. "Who are you?" Nate placed his business card gently on the table. "Technically, I'm the guy who just got your full confession, but personally, just a friend helping a friend." Claire laughed once, short and bitter. "You think anyone's going to believe that?" "They will," I said, pulling out a second recorder. "Especially with the audio, and with the company in this room." That's when she noticed two off-duty cops from Nate's veteran network sitting quietly at separate tables nearby. One holding a menu, the other filming casually with his phone like a tourist. "You set me up," she whispered. "No," I said. "You set yourself up. We just hit record." Claire stood abruptly, knocking over her wine. "You're going to regret this." "No," I said, standing with her. "But you will." She looked around the room, realizing everyone was watching, but no one was on her side. For the first time, Claire Harper had no script left to follow. And we had everything we needed. It only took 5 days. 5 days from the sting at the bistro to the arrival of the legal paperwork. Claire wasn't going to go down quietly. She filed a motion for full custody of Leo, painting me as unstable, manipulative, and emotionally unfit to parent. The irony would have been funny if it didn't make me physically ill. Her attorney, a sharp-chinned man in a navy suit named Wallace, filed a packet of allegations thick enough to choke on. In it, they included a handwritten letter, supposedly from Leo, saying he was afraid of me, that I yelled, that I was controlling and always watching. It was signed Leo Harper. When my lawyer slid the letter across the table during our prep meeting, I stared at it for a long time. Leo didn't write that. He couldn't have. His handwriting was messy, uneven, full of oversized loops and backward E's, the kind of writing only a 10-year-old could be proud of. This was neat, careful, deliberate, almost too deliberate. "I've already flagged it," my lawyer Jenna said calmly. "It's traced. We'll get it analyzed." The hearing was held in family court, courtroom B, a space that smelled like recycled carpet and bureaucracy. Claire wore a sleek charcoal suit, hair pinned back, hands folded like a grieving widow. Leo sat in the waiting room with a court-appointed child advocate while we took our seats before the judge. Wallace started strong, painting Claire as a stable, misunderstood mother who'd had a brief lapse in judgment, but only wanted to rebuild her relationship with her son. "She's seeking supervised visitation from Mr. Harper," Wallace said smoothly, "until his influence over the child can be responsibly evaluated." Jenna stood slowly, flipping the letter into view. "We'd like to submit this exhibit for analysis. The letter was allegedly written by Leo, but upon review, it appears to have been traced directly from Claire's own handwriting, same strokes, same line pressure. A handwriting expert is ready to testify." The judge raised an eyebrow, then looked to Wallace. Claire's expression didn't budge, but I saw the way her fingers tensed in her lap. Wallace cleared his throat. "That's an unverified claim, and even if there are similarities, it's not unverified," Jenna interrupted. The analyst compared it to Claire's prior signed statements. "It's a match. The ink was pressed over a graphite outline. Classic tracing." The judge turned to Claire. "Ms. Harper, did you write this letter?" She didn't answer. "Ms. Harper," the judge repeated, more firmly this time. "Did you fabricate a statement under your child's name?" Claire's jaw shifted. He was scared. "I just helped him put his feelings into words." "You forged it," I said quietly. The courtroom went still. That night, after the hearing, I sat Leo down in the living room. I had to ask, "Did Mom make you write something?" Leo hesitated, then nodded. "She said I had to copy the letter exactly, that if I didn't, she'd get in trouble." My chest ached. "Did she yell?" "No," he whispered. "She cried. That was worse." The court moved fast after that. The judge was furious, called it coercion and fabrication. Claire was ordered to undergo psychiatric evaluation. Her custody motion was denied outright. I was granted full custody. Claire got supervised visits. Leo didn't say much after court, but that night, when I tucked him in, he looked up and asked, "Are we done fighting now?" I brushed the hair from his forehead. "We're just getting started, buddy," I said. "But this time, we're fighting for you." Nate called me 2 days later, just after sunrise. I hadn't even finished my coffee yet. "You might want to sit down," he said. "I'm already sitting," I muttered. "What now?" He exhaled through the phone. "We found it, the account I froze." Account? Claire's, under the name C.J. Walters. Opened 2 years ago, in a small credit union out in Ashford. Totally off the radar. How much? Just under 50 grand. My stomach dropped. I stood up and started pacing. "How?" Nate didn't answer right away. He let the question hang like smoke. We traced a series of small deposits, PayPal, Venmo, 2 prepaid cards, all from different people, most of them men. Same phrasing in the memos. For Eli, for medical expenses. "Hope this helps your boy." Sound familiar? I stopped cold. "Leo," I said quietly. "She used him," Nate confirmed. Told them he was sick, that she was a struggling single mom. She had a whole act going. Different names, different stories. But the theme was always the same. She needed help for her child. My chest felt like it was cracking open. "She turned our son into a charity pitch," I said. "A goddamn business model." Nate's voice softened. "It gets worse." He sent me a contact. "Darren Wilkes," he said. "Lives in Raleigh. Sent Claire over $20,000 across 6 months. Believes she was fighting a custody battle against an abusive ex. Guess who she described as the abuser?" I closed my eyes. "Me?" "Yep." I drove to Darren's place that same day. He answered the door like he'd been expecting bad news. Tall, maybe early 40s, with kind eyes and a handshake that lingered too long. He invited me in without a word. "I know who you are," he said quietly after we sat. "Claire said a lot of things about you. None of them good, I bet." He gave a half-hearted smile. "Number." But I should have known something was off. She always had an excuse. Never wanted to video chat. Never met in person. I just believed her. "Because she was good at making people feel sorry for her," I said. "That's her talent." He handed me a manila folder. "Printouts," he said. "Every message, every transaction, even the photo she used." I opened it. The photo was of Leo, maybe 5 years old, wearing pajamas, sitting on the couch with a blanket. One I'd taken. "She told me that was from the hospital," Darren said. "Said he had leukemia." My jaw clenched. He looked down. "I lost my nephew to cancer 2 years ago. Guess that's why I fell for it." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. When I left, Darren followed me to the door. "She said something weird last time we talked," he said. "Said once she got full custody, she'd be set for life, that it would be her financial win." I nodded slowly. Sounds like her. Back home, I placed the folder next to the flash drive. Proof of theft, fraud, identity manipulation, emotional blackmail, enough to bury her. I picked up my phone. I was just about to call Jenna, my lawyer. Then it rang first. Nate. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "Claire just checked herself into a psych facility in Montview, screaming that someone's hunting her." I didn't speak, because deep down, I already knew. Victor wasn't done. Nate and I got to the Airbnb an hour after Claire had been admitted to the facility. The police had already cleared the scene, but they left the door taped and slightly ajar. No forced entry, but plenty of signs that someone had been there, and left in a hurry. The front door hung crooked on its hinges, like it had been flung open hard. The coffee table was tipped over. A wine glass lay shattered on the kitchen tile. In the bedroom, the sheets were bunched up like someone had bolted out of bed mid-dream. Then we saw it. A men's luxury wristwatch on the bathroom counter, still ticking. Silver, heavy, engraved on the underside, V.D. Victor Dalton. Nate whistled low. "She ran barefoot," he said, nodding at the open closet and missing shoes. "Grabbed nothing but her phone and took off. Probably didn't even realize she left this behind." We checked the exterior cameras. The landlord hadn't deleted anything. Footage showed Claire bursting through the door at 2:37 a.m., barefoot, in leggings and a hoodie. She didn't look scared. She looked terrified. She didn't even close the door behind her. Then, 6 seconds later, Victor appeared in frame. Calm, polished, just standing in the driveway with his hands in his coat pockets, watching her run. Not chasing, not yelling, just watching. Jesus, Nate muttered. He wanted her scared, not dead, just cracked. I stared at the screen. Victor didn't look angry. He looked satisfied. That was somehow worse. Back home, I found a plain envelope in the mailbox. No return address. Again, inside was a single photo. Claire, asleep on a couch, her legs curled under her, blanket over her shoulders, clearly recent, same hoodie she wore when fleeing the Airbnb. On the back, in red marker. You think she's the only one who lied? My pulse quickened. I called Nate, told him to meet me at his office. We ran a background search through every public and private database we had access to. Victor Dalton, bachelor's in finance. Worked in private equity for 7 years. Clean record, too clean. Then Nate found something buried. Victor had been the target of a fraud investigation in Miami in 2019. A woman accused him of identity theft, manipulation, and emotional coercion. The charges vanished. So did the woman. He's been doing this a long time, Nate said, leaning back. Claire wasn't his first, probably not his last. What did he want from her? Nate shrugged. Same thing she wanted from you. Access, cover, chaos. We found his apartment that night. Top floor of a penthouse in Silverwood. Building full of steel, glass, and people who never looked each other in the eye. Victor let us in. No denial, no resistance. He answered the door with a slight smile, as if he'd been expecting us. Peter, he said, and the war dog. Come in. His apartment was immaculate. Frame photos, polished floors, jazz humming through unseen speakers. But the wall behind the bookcase told a different story. Photos, notes, documents, taped and pinned and connected with red thread like some kind of crime thriller storyboard. In the center, Claire, but around her, me, Leo, Nate, Darren, even Sophie Marks, the fake investor. Victor poured himself a drink. She made a fool of me, he said quietly. Stole my time, my money, my trust. I've been watching her ever since. He handed me a second flash drive. Everything, he said. Her ledger, real names, fake accounts, full map of what she did, who she did it to. I stared at it. She used you, I said. He nodded, and I used her right back. We left 10 minutes later, the flash drive burning in my pocket. Claire had manipulated lives, Victor had documented them. But now, the game was over, and I had all the pieces. The house was quiet that night. Leo was in his room, headphones on, humming to whatever video he was watching. I could hear the soft creak of his desk chair turning side to side, the occasional click of his mouse. Normal sounds. Good sounds. I sat at the dining table, staring at the second flash drive Victor had handed me. It was small, plastic, harmless looking, but it might as well have been a grenade. Inside were enough files to ruin Claire completely. Not just legally, but publicly. There were names, emails, wire transfers, identity scams. Lies she told to strangers, and lies she told to me. Proof of how she built her own little empire of manipulation and used our son as the poster child. I didn't plug it in. I just sat there holding it, turning it over and over in my hand like a coin I couldn't quite flip. She was already unraveling, checked into a psychiatric hospital, convinced someone was hunting her, and maybe someone had been. But it wasn't me. I hadn't laid a finger on her. I hadn't needed to. Victor had done the hunting. And Leo. He had started the avalanche long before any of us knew what he was doing. I looked over at the hallway where his light spilled out from under his door. I thought about what would happen if I handed this drive to the police, or the press, or posted it on some public forum. Claire would be destroyed, but so would the last pieces of Leo's childhood. Because this drive wasn't just about Claire's crimes, it was about his mother, the woman who tucked him in once, the woman who sang off-key while she packed his lunches, who kissed his forehead even when she was lying through her teeth. Leo had already lost her in every way that mattered, and if I lit the rest of her to ash, what was I teaching him? That justice only matters when it's loud? That revenge is sweeter than peace? Or that protecting someone sometimes means not using everything you have? I got up, went to the kitchen drawer, and grabbed a lighter. I stepped out onto the back porch, flash drive still in my palm, cold night air wrapping around me like a decision I hadn't made until that moment. I held it over the lighter, flicked the flame on, and waited. The plastic warped quickly, curled like a dying leaf. I let it burn until it fell to ash on the concrete. I didn't feel powerful. I felt clear. Claire had already lost everything. Her son, her control, her lies. The facade was gone. There was nothing left for her to manipulate. And I still had Leo. When I walked back inside, he looked up from his room, earbuds dangling. "Everything okay?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "Everything's just fine now.